Tonight on Pen the Writer's Utopia. Listen, I have one of my favorite people with me tonight, and we're going to be talking about putting the roar back in your stories. Listen, you don't want to miss this episode. Go ahead, like, share, and join the conversation in the comments. I'm so excited, y'all, to welcome my girl Cherlyn Decker to the Writers Utopia. Come on in and let's have a chat. Welcome to Penned the Writer's Utopia. Listen, I have a wonderful guest with me tonight, and I'm so excited. I'm always happy to sit down and chat with her because she's always bringing these great nuggets of wisdom, y'all, that just is warming to your soul, right? So she is a coach and she's the author of Roar Back, Transforming Struggle into Strength. She is none other than my good friend, Cherlyn Decker. Hi, Cherlyn.
Hi, T-Lynn. So good to be here.
Listen, I'm so excited when I get a chance to sit down and talk to you. I am over here speeding through, right? Because I could not wait to get you on here. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm just excited to talk to her. You'll see why as we continue to chat tonight. So how have you been, darling?
Whew. It has been a whirlwind. It really has. And just like the whirlwind, there's days that you're up and then there's days that you're plummeted to the ground.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been a little bit of back and forth the last couple of weeks.
I understand. Well, I'm good. I'm glad to see that you're still standing at this moment, because that means that all that you went through over these last couple of weeks are definitely going to give us some good, juicy nuggets of wisdom to live off of tonight. So, listen, guys, we all know that Pen the Writer's Utopia is all about the writers and the writer's process, but we cannot help but to talk a little bit about the stories that bring our authors and our writers to where they are now. So, Cherlyn, you wrote the book Roar Back, Transforming Struggle into Strength. Tell us a little bit about you and what started the process to this book.
This book was birthed out of a very painful phone call, the kind that changed your life, one that said, "I'm sorry, Cherlyn, your position has been eliminated." Oh, wow. And that moment, we lost 60% of our income. I was the breadwinner. We lived outside of Washington, D.C. It required a 2-income family. We had, we're living comfortable, and we had a few, like we'd go out to eat, a little bit more than maybe once a week. Yeah. And we just had, we just had a little bit of luxury built into our budget. And so when I lost my job, it was not just painful financially, it was tied to everything that I was. Yeah. Everything I thought that I was. And God used that experience to reprogram everything about me, to transform me. And he used that struggle to do it. And that's where this book came from. This book is about my layoff, what I walked through, what I experienced, how I reacted to it, how God changed the way I respond to circumstances now because of it. And he taught me really what it looks like to stand on who he says he is and what he says he's going to do for me, and really trust, like I have nothing else to hold on to, that he's going to come through for me.
Wow. And see, that's one of the reasons why I do what I do, Cherlyn, because as I told you in pre-production, when it comes to stories and us telling stories. There are so many people out here. There are so many writers out here and non-writers who have stories to tell, but they don't always come forth and share their stories, which are much needed, right? And they're like, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. I'm sure you might not have thought of yourself as a writer until the moment it was time for you to write this book. Am I guessing correctly?
So pieces and parts of that. I published my first book in the 3rd grade. It was written on a piece of paper. We put it in a piece of cardboard. We wrapped it in fabric as a project in the 3rd grade. And it was about a leprechaun. So technically I've been writing my whole life.
Your whole life. Okay.
And then I lost my dad to cancer. And I just kind of went through that journey as part of my grieving process, sharing blog posts about that. And people were like, there's something about the way that you write, which was tugging on their heart. And I knew then that that was a deposit, that was a word from the Lord, that I was going to be like, okay, this is going to be something. And so I'm not surprised that God used this past 7 years of my layoff to where I am now to be the process at which he not only brought me transformation, but is now using it as a way to kind of say, hey, here's how Cherlyn did it. Partner with the Holy Spirit, and let's see how he can do it with you too.
That's good. That's good. And you know what's great about what you're saying? So look, y'all, we got a gem in her tonight too, because she's a blogger. Listen to that. So you started out writing blog posts. Now we're going to put these strings together. So you started out writing blog posts, and sharing your story through there. Have you ever thought about taking those blog posts and turning those into a book?
They're in there.
Good.
The entire blog series of stories was called The Journey of Scars. And so I just felt my whole entire life was just about, how God was using these painful things to teach me something. And so there's pieces and parts of those blog posts that I put in this book. So those blog posts aren't even available anymore because they were on an old platform that I was using, but I still had all the raw content. And so I used and repurposed all of it in this book. And yet merged it to continue to sound like a continuous flow. And I was surprised this story has had multiple titles every time I've given it. I started out blogging. It was about, the journey of coming to terms with all these scars that I had in my life, the biggest wound being fatherless and losing my dad to cancer. And what does that mean now?
Yeah.
For me as a woman who, he was my hero. And then it became something that I would speak about and began to talk and share from podcasts and different things, sharing my story and, trying to speak in front of women's conferences and getting in front of MOPS groups. And the story was called something else at the time. And then God dropped the title Roar, the concept of Roar, into my heart, and then all of the pieces fell together.
Yes, and I'm going to come back and get roar, because that actually doesn't just mean roar like a lion. It actually is an acronym. So we're going to come right back to that in just a moment. But I want to put a quick pin here, because that is a major gem that you just gave. If anybody that's watching, listen, she just gave a major nugget for those of us who are writers. Thank you. Listen, Alan, no, he joining the conversation. That's right, Alan. Repurposing your content. That was a huge gem for writers. As a blogger or as a writer, there are many different mediums, I'm sure, that you write it. Like myself, I'm a blogger. I also contribute different content, different places. It's okay to pull bits and pieces of those things, bring them back. Even like you said, even your speeches, like when you're a speaker and you're out speaking, yes, you can pull different points and content and bring it together and make it look brand new. Well, technically it is brand new once you string it together with the rest of the content. But repurposing your content is a major, major bonus and something you should consider doing if you haven't already done so. That is a gem. Look, she already dropping, y'all. Are you paying attention? Listen, yes. Now, getting back. So now we've taken all of these different bits and pieces of content, and then God breathed on it and gave you more to add, to kind of like, you had the skeleton with the repurposed content, and then God came and put and formed and shaped it. So what does the acronym ROAR stand for?
I didn't know immediately, because what I was doing is when he gave me roar, I was starting to hear it, and I was like, wasn't quite sure what that was. And then I was watching a documentary on lions. I don't know if it was like National Geographic or something. I was watching this documentary on lions, and the narrator was talking about how this majestic beast, right, king of the jungle, is pacing back and forth, looking over the land it's meant to protect.
Yeah.
And any and every intruder is met with a roar.
Yeah.
It's the kind of roar that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. I've never audibly heard a lion roar like that. And I don't ever want to get close enough where I've heard them either.
Correct.
And then, so in this process where I'm kind of hearing something about a roar, in my quiet time. And then I'm watching this documentary, and then I'm watching a sermon of a church that I follow online. And the pastor says, the enemy will stalk you until you roar back at him. And I knew I had it.
Yeah.
And I was like, roar back. That's exactly what I'm teaching people to do, is to confront their circumstances that are coming at them, and then use these tools that I have put together, these tips and tricks and all of my toolbox, right? All of the stuff I'd written. And I'm like, okay, now what? How do I put this stuff together? And then God began to show me the acronym. R stands for respond. The difference between reacting and responding to a circumstance that hits our life. When trials hit our life, we want to scream, we want to panic, we want to freak out, we want to do all kinds of, crazy. We want to get mad. We want to get mouthy. Maybe that's just me. But he wants to teach us how to respond. And that section of the book is all about standing on the promises of God, learning how to praise him in our circumstance, and being grateful for what we do have that is, still intact, right? And sometimes we got to find places to be grateful for in the middle of stuff that we walk through. So that's where R came from.
Hold on, pause right there. That's a nugget too. That's a nugget. Go and say that again. Sometimes you got to find space to be grateful in a place that there's nothing seemingly to be grateful for. Mm-hmm. Okay.
In the middle of all of our complaining, sometimes it's just a matter of posturing our heart and saying, what can I be grateful about?
What can I be grateful about?
And it doesn't have to be related. It could be like, I'm grateful that my shoes don't have holes in them. It could be like, it doesn't have to be related to the circumstance.
No, it's just finding something to be grateful for, because then as you pick the small things, it begins to get bigger. And again, I always say this, guys, even though this is Pen the Writer's Utopia, you don't understand how these things actually help you as writers, because, and I could go after this all day long, and that is, with gratitude, it makes room for more. When you give thanks for what you have, it makes room for more. Even if it's, I'm thankful for this idea, you make room for more. Yes. The smallest way of giving gratitude makes room for more. Take that nugget. I told you, she dropping nuggets all night.
And it's a huge concept when we can be grateful in the small things, because progress, anytime we have transformation, anytime we're trying to work on a project, we need to be grateful in the small steps.
Yes.
Along the way, because we're not where we used to be. We're further ahead. We're not there, but we're not, we're not where we started. And so anytime we can say, well, I'm grateful that news came yesterday.
Yes.
And not today, or whatever it is. So, and if you need help being grateful, then bring somebody along, because not an Eeyore, but bring somebody along who can help you find that.
Yeah.
Sorry about my phone there.
That's okay. And I want to actually give something tangible for our writers, right? So I have had several of people that I've worked with that's like, but T, I'm not a writer and I'm struggling. I've only got 5 pages. I'm
Yay.
grateful that I have 5 pages because 2 months ago I had 0 pages written. Give thanks for the pages that you do have. Well, I'm having a problem writing every day. Well, on the days that you are, I'm thankful that I wrote 3 days out of this week. May not have made it to 5, but at least I wrote 3 and not none.
Yes, that's right. Do not despise those small beginnings.
I'm telling you, writing is a journey and it's a process. There are some that can pop it out like this, and then there are some that need to take their time. But as writers, let's find ways to be grateful for the little bit of progress that we make each day. It makes room for more.
Yes,
now, we were on the topic of roar.
Yes.
So we have the R, which was respond. Now we're at the O. What does the O stand for?
O stands for overcome. And I like to liken this to hitting potholes. Ooh. When we know, we hit potholes and they cause us to be stuck on the side of the road. I tell this story in the book about how when I was 16, I hit a pothole and it flattened both tires on the passenger side of my car.
Oh my.
Right. And so there's nothing you can do but get stuck there. And but we can walk through life and we learn how to spot these potholes coming, right? You see the crinkle in the road. But when we walk through life, we often don't see that there are pointers showing us that something's coming.
Yeah.
That could be your temper, all the things that push your buttons that are like, I'm about ready to get angry right up in this place. So it could be, what are those things? And if we can recognize those traps, as I like to call them in the book, we can overcome them because we can see them coming. And for all of us, it's different. It might be, here's a great movie references, by the way, are great. I probably have 100 movie references in this book. And one of them I talk about.
Great way to tell a story, though. I mean, come on.
They are. One of them I talk about is the scene from the movie Elf. When he's in the elevator, he's going to go see his dad for the first time, and he hits every single button in the elevator. And there's this poor guy. And he has to ride every single
floor.
Right. Yes. But he doesn't react. He just stands there. His buttons weren't pushed. It didn't bother him.
Yeah.
And if we can get to the place where the things that are coming at us don't bother us anymore, we can truly be overcomers. And so that's how God fit that in. Stuff that I'd written a long time ago about this quirky little blog post about the movie Elf, right? Again, pulling in stuff that I'd written before.
Now, I like the overcome too, because that's the other thing. So as writers, depending on what stage you are, because again, some people are seasoned and they've already done just what you said. They've learned how to not react and not respond to their traps. You call them traps, I call them triggers, right? They've learned how to not respond to those. But for those of you guys that are watching that are newbies to writing, or maybe you're not as seasoned and you haven't learned how to navigate those waters, understand that especially when you're writing with purpose, there are going to be tons of things that are going to come up against you to distract you in the process. You will not listen. I can write and I write very well, honey, but I'm telling you to sit down and then all of a sudden I have my list of things that, the washer, I forgot to turn on the washer. Oh my gosh, I got to go cook dinner. It's, the time. Where does time? It's so many things that will come along and distract you. And sometimes it's not just the simple things in life such as that. Sometimes it's the bigger things that come along that really aren't there to hurt you. They really are there just to draw your attention away. It's almost like that thing that taunts you. I don't know, a hyena. We're talking about lions here. So maybe the hyena comes along to distract you and taunt you a little bit, which pulls your focus off of what you should be doing, right? Mm-hmm. So you just understand that you can overcome those things. You just have to learn, like Cherlyn said, see the pothole before you get there. Watch for the signs to know when those things are coming along. The more you are aware of the signs that are there in the beginning, and you begin to see, and some of y'all, it's like big old cartoon arrows that's pointing down, that's saying pothole here, neon lights, and you like still zoned out and you still run 100 miles an hour over the pothole. Y'all got to slow down so you can catch the signs and that you're not pulled off course in your writing.
And those things are great content to write about. Those, when you're journaling, some of this stuff came from my journal too. There's your another nugget, is when you're journaling about the stuff that you're facing, like, oh man, today was a rough day, or, you know, and you're exploring what those feelings are. Do your research on yourself, whether you're using it for a fiction character, whether you're writing nonfiction and you have to, you know, tell them the person's name is somebody else, you know, whatever it is.
Yes.
That's important. Those things that we walk through, someone else is going to relate to. And so those things are just gold mines.
Listen to that. Journal your process and your distractions. Repurpose them. Not telling the real person's name. You protect the identity of the people that's involved and still bless somebody with that story. Okay. We're putting the roar back into our stories, y'all. Putting the roar in your story. All right. So now we're responding. We're overcoming. Now what are we doing with the A?
The A is application. It's applying what we've learned from our previous seasons. We've heard the saying that we are walking around this mountain the same time, where I've been around this mountain before. It's typically because God had something to teach us and we missed it. Or we learned the lesson, but we didn't get a chance to we learned the lesson on that circle and we didn't get a chance to put our new habits into practice. And so we'll see the same person. Repeat.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll see the same personality. We'll see the same type of circumstance show up so that we can then walk in victory in that. And the apply section is a series of lenses that I ask you to look at circumstances that have hit your life from a different perspective so that you can see it from multiple angles and get what God is trying to teach you. Like, who are the people involved? Like, that's where I got the concept for the guy in the elevator. Like, he wasn't the point of the story. The point of the story was Elf. But here's this guy. They could have put him in a blank elevator, but they put him in an elevator with this guy. And then on purpose, they didn't have him react all crazy. There was a purpose to that character's involvement. So what is that? Who is that person that's in your life? Are they there as an encourager? Are they someone that you need to, like, are they somebody who, my grandmother would say, don't throw your pearls before swine. That's somebody who doesn't appreciate you and is going to tear you down in your dreams. Like, who are these kinds of people that are in your life or in your circumstances? And what do they represent as far as what God is trying to show you? So there's two examples of what the apply section would look like.
Listen, and I'm not even going to go back and explain how that works in writing, because you creatives out there that are watching, guess what? That was clear, cut, and dry. You got it. So what's our next R?
That's what we're doing today. It's revealing our stories, revealing our story to others, because we like to believe that we have to share our story when it's finished. It's not finished. We are all not finished. We are all a work in progress. We are all, still have areas that we need to improve on. And our favorite stories are not the before and after pictures of somebody's weight loss journey. It's the process pictures along the way. It shows that, hey, look, you've been there too. It's I don't have this all the way figured out, but here's what I've got so far. Because testimony, the key to testimony is it says, hey, this is possible for you. And my story proves it. And that's why we do this. This is why we write. This is why we share our stories, especially nonfiction. We're telling people, hey, find hope in my story. Find encouragement in my story. And hey, don't repeat my same mistakes.
Yes. Hello. Say that one for the people in the back. I'm telling you my story.
Don't do what I did.
Yeah. So you do it different. What I did.
Or do what I did that worked and let me shortcut you.
Yes. But whatever you do, pick it up. Whatever I say don't do that. But whatever you saw that worked for me, go and try that. It might get you there a little faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Listen,
there's both power of acceleration by tapping into, what people did that worked. And
yep,
then there's, avoiding all kinds of delay and getting to our destiny by not repeating those same mistakes.
absolutely. Listen. Oh my gosh. Okay. I know we still got a few more minutes, but that was powerful. Like, look, I got to put my hand on my chin and say that was putting the roar in your stories. That's what we're talking about. Putting the roar in your stories. And for the people that are watching, we're going to go ahead and put in the comments for you what that means. R is for respond. O is to overcome. A is to apply. And the last R is to reveal. And man, how powerful is that? You would think she wrote this about how to roar back in life. She's just talking about circumstances and situations that you go through in life that try to take you down or pull you off course. But my goodness, just tonight, sitting here in the writer's utopia and talking about how to put that same roar and apply it to your writing and to your own storytelling. That was powerful. That was powerful. And I so appreciate you for sharing that with us tonight, Cherlyn. I'm still stuck on the A. I know I kind of went and reiterated each letter about how it worked in writing, except for the A. But the A was so self-explanatory, man. Just apply what you've learned, and in different ways. Like even when you said revealing, you talked about talking about your own story and applying your own life story to it. Like that's even with your characters, understanding what your character has been through when you're writing, especially if you're writing nonfiction. Some of you guys, I'm sorry, not nonfiction, some of you guys may be writing fiction and you're looking at your characters. Writing characters that reflect real life is really going to make the most impact, in my opinion, on your audience, because it gives them something to relate to. You don't want to, when you're writing your stories, especially again fiction, you want to write your characters in a way that your audience sees themselves in that character. They're able to relate to how they're responding in different situations and circumstances. So the apply point in your fiction writing, because we brought it all back to writing, in fiction, apply some real life to that. Like think about what you're asking your characters to do and think about, is that realistic and something that you would do or something that you could really see a real person responding to, right? Don't make it astronomically so far out there that you lose your audience in the process. Real life is a great way to bring your art, your fictional art and storytelling into a great place. I lost my word there, but you know what I meant. It's what I say. So we are definitely almost out of time, but I always say we're not out of words, right? So Cherlyn, please share with us what golden nugget. You've given us so many nuggets tonight. I'm telling you, I'm gonna have to go back and watch this one myself because there were some yummy, juicy nuggets that I'm gonna have to marinate on. So I too am gonna have to go back and watch this episode. But I know you have one final golden nugget that we can leave with our audience tonight. What is it that you have for us?
This whole process of roaring is a cycle, because while we're responding to stuff that's happening, while we're overcoming, while we're applying, while we're revealing, there's still another cycle that's happening right after that. Because we're always in this especially writers. Once you get the first piece out, whatever that is, you are now a writer. And
Yeah.
you now have this flow that you can tap into. And so I'm finding, like, even today, when you're like, oh my gosh, you just helped a whole bunch of writers. Now I see how I can take the reveal section of my book, and I'd already intended to make it a workshop. But now I can see how this whole process of helping somebody roar can now say, okay, now use this framework to help create your story, even if that's just your blog post, even
Yeah.
if that's just your journal, even if that's whatever, to tell your story of what was it like? How did you respond? How did you react to that when it happened? And then what did you overcome along the way as you realized that you were, in the process of changing mindset or changing patterns or habits and all of that stuff? This is a cycle. It's
Yes.
never once and done. There's
No.
always more. The lion is always looking for what area of their lives, of our lives, need this framework.
Yeah.
It could be our
Absolutely.
finances this month. It could be our marriage the next. And so I just want to encourage you that even though this is a faith-based book, and it's definitely can help you, as you think about your writing. So I thank you for that deposit in me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Listen, I'm going to tell you, when I said, what are we going to name this? And I looked at your book, I was like, we're not going to call this Roar Back. But then I was like, oh, but we're going to put the roar in your story. And man, oh man, did I not know how much this was going to really, beef up the storytelling process. Like, it's amazing. I was like, I didn't even know what I was on to when I named it that, y'all.
Yeah, we took a book that's not about writing at all. I mean, not really. And we made it a inspirational piece to kind of say, how can I then take what someone else wrote and take and be inspired by it, by their process or whatever. And that's what's so beautiful about what you've done in our episode today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for trusting me and going along with it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Listen, guys, I always say this, we're not out of words for sure, but we certainly are out of time. I don't know about you, but I have tremendously enjoyed Cherlyn tonight. If you've enjoyed her, you guys know what to do. Go ahead and put those hand claps in the comments. Give her some love. Show her some love so that she can feel you roaring at the fact that you got what she was saying. Go ahead tonight. Make sure you give her some hand claps. I certainly am going to give you some here because I've enjoyed you. Thank you so much for your golden nuggets. Remember, guys, respond, overcome, apply, and reveal. You can put the roar in your stories. Okay. Listen, we're not out of Thank you. There, your love is coming in. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. I love him so much. He's always here supporting look, he says support our creatives. That's who Alan is. And you're here supporting your creatives. Thank you so much, Alan. But anyway, guys, again, we are out of time, but I thank you so much, Cherlyn Decker, for coming on. Before we go, make sure, can you tell us how people can get a copy of your book if they like one?
So from my website, there's a link there that says book, or you can go to roarbackbook.com, goes to the same place onto my website. And there's two ways to get it. There's a link there for Amazon. And then there's also a link there for a signed copy. So if you want a signed copy, I'd be glad to do that for you. You just can get that from me. I have a huge pile over here in my box, and I'd be glad to pull one out and sign it for you.
Yes, absolutely. So you guys make sure you go on over to CherlynDecker.com, show her some love, and get your copy of Roar Back, Transforming Struggle into Strength. See, I wanted to make sure I got the last part. But I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate you. And look, share this with other writers you know that need this encouragement tonight. All right. Make sure you go ahead, click the button, subscribe, and then share the love with someone else, because somebody needs to hear this tonight. Lynn doesn't know them. Cherlyn doesn't know them. But guess who does? You do, baby. And the only way they'll get it is if you go ahead and share. Thank you so much for watching and joining us tonight in the Writer's Utopia. It's always great to be before you guys. Now that you have these awesome golden nuggets of how to put the roar in your story, go on, baby, and go write something great. I'll see you guys next week. This is Lynn, and this has been Pinned the Writer's Utopia. Have a great week, guys.